What is up, guys? I'm doing a bit of a touch-up to a build I did quite a bit ago for the Guardian games that was built around the Guardian games that this one will not be. This is a general build you can take into almost all content, solo or group, and you will make yourself an extremely useful member of a team, or it will give you a ton of survivability for yourself. Starting off, we're going to make a quick distinction here. If you plan on loadout swapping, I recommend Marksman Golden Gun. And if you do not, I recommend Blade Barrage. This is because we will be loadout swapping with Celestial Nighthawk if you decide to go with the Marksman Golden Gun here. And with the dodge, we will be using the Gambler's Dodge to get our melee back more quickly. Triple Jump for that extra mobility in the air. Knife Trick so that we can throw out the 3 knives, which grants us Scorch, and there are more knives to hit on targets, which allows us to proc Radiant and our Assassin's Cowl more effectively. For the grenade, we will go with the Healing Grenade in order to maintain our health and sustain ourselves in really bad situations. And for the aspects, we will be using Knock 'em Down, which enhances our solar supers. Marksman Golden Gun will get increased duration, and Blade Barrage will launch more projectiles. If you are planning on going with Marksman Golden Gun, you can easily go with Gunpowder Gamble here to get that extra big explosion. Just mind yourself here because you could die. In addition, you will be using the On Your Mark solar aspect. Precision Final Blows grant you and nearby allies increased weapon handling and reload speed for a short duration. Stacks 3 times. This will give you a lot of increased reload, which is what we're mostly looking for here. And if you activate your class ability right before something like a boss phase, you will have maximum stacks of On Your Mark for you and all of your allies. Now for the fragments, this is a very important part of the build. We will go with Ember of Solace, which gives a 50%-ish increase to radiant and restoration effects that are applied to you. Ember of Empyrean, so that solar weapon or ability final blows extend the duration of these restoration and radiant effects. However, it takes 10 resilience. Ember of Torches, powered melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies radiant, minus 10 discipline. This is important because when you are radiant and you get a kill with your melee, you will get your melee back. So when you hit with the 3 knives, even if the first knife hits and that grants you radiant, then the other 2 knives get the kill, you will get your melee back. Ember of Singeing, your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets, also helps with the Knife Trick and with all of our other effects that will be scorching targets. And Ember of Char, your solar ignitions will spread Scorch to other affected targets. Now, with all of this, as you can see, we're going with a very much all-rounder kind of build. There's survivability in here, there's boss damage in here, and there's a lot of ad clear in here. The stats we're going to be going with kind of reflect this. We're going to go with 100 resilience. Try to put as much into your mobility as possible. My recovery is kind of high because some of the rolls in my gear is not what I would like it to be, but I would ideally want a 10 resilience and a tier 8 mobility at least. And then on the secondary abilities, I would recommend going all in on discipline, then intellect, then strength, as our strength is going to be mostly useless due to us using the Gambler's Dodge. For the exotic armor piece, we will be using Assassin's Cowl. Vanishing Execution, powered melee final blows grant invisibility and restore a portion of health and shields. Finisher final blows against more powerful targets increase the duration of the invisibility and the amount of health and shields restored. Amazingly useful in Onslaught, in raids, in high-end Legend and Master content, in Grandmasters. It is useful in surviving in anything. Invisibility is an incredibly powerful defensive tool. That is why Invis Hunters are super useful right now. And with this setup, you can take advantage of a lot of the solar mods in the artifact while still maintaining the elusiveness that comes with being an invisibility-based hunter. As far as armor mods go, I'm going to be highly recommending that you run with Harmonic Siphon on your helmet with heavy and special ammo finders. If you don't have enough energy for both finders, I recommend running heavy ammo finder and then heavy ammo scout so that your allies can benefit from that. On the arms, I'm going to recommend Impact Induction and Heavy-Handed. Impact Induction will allow you to, when you cause damage with a powered melee attack, which will be all of your melees roughly, you will have a reduced grenade cooldown, lets you heal yourself more. And heavy-handed, whenever you get kills with your melee final blows, they will create orbs of power. If you wanted here, you could run double heavy-handed. It would give you the same amount of orbs of power, but they would be slightly increased potency, and they wouldn't have as long of a cooldown, but that's entirely up to you. For the chest piece, I'm going to recommend melee damage resistance. You're going to be in melee a lot. Concussive dampener for those area of effect damage effects, and a harmonic resistance if you have the energy for it. On the boots, some of the most important things here, you want to run double solar weapon surge for sure, and that is going to be extremely useful for you. And then finally on the cloak, you're going to want powerful attraction, which automatically collects nearby orbs of power when you activate your class ability. You should be making a lot of these due to your melee, and so when you're cycling through your different abilities, you will get a lot of orbs of power that way. Time dilation makes it so that instead of your solar weapon surges lasting for 10 seconds at a time with the temporary armor charges, they will last 15 seconds, which means that at 3 stacks of armor charge, you will have 45 seconds of increased damage. That is enough for pretty much any boss phase you could ever need. And then bomber, so that we will be reducing our grenade cooldown whenever we use our class ability. Now, as for the Queen's Foil Sensor artifact abilities, I'm going to recommend Piercing Sidearms here. That is the only necessary one in the first column. In the second column, I'm going to highly recommend Kindling Trigger. Radiant causes solar weapons to apply Scorch. Blast Radius, rapid final blows with rocket launchers and grenade launchers grant armor charge. And From Whence You Came, increases ability damage to taken and scorned combatants. In the third column, I'm going to recommend Flint Striker. Rapid solar weapon precision hits and rapid solar weapon final blows will grant you Radiant. If you don't already have it, this will be a great way of proccing it on yourself. Part of the Flame, casting your solar super grants nearby allies Radiant and increases the damage of your super for each nearby ally. And Wished into Being. While your super is nearly fully charged, ability final blows spawn orbs of power. Wearing Season of the Wish armor decreases the super amount threshold. And then in the fourth column, I'm going to mostly be recommending Overload rocket launchers. However, if you want to replace one of the earlier items, like say Blast Radius, and then put Revitalizing Blast in there, that is entirely good as well. As Revitalizing Blast, when you cause damage with a solar ability, it provides a weaken to champions and bosses for a short duration. This means that even though you're playing solar, you still have access to a weaken. And so when you combine that with Overload rocket launchers, and then you combine that with solar ignitions that you will be getting very frequently from your other abilities, you have the ability to stun all champion types, and you are going to be very capable in dealing with these champions and bosses. And then in the final column are our two most important abilities here. You're going to have a couple of options, but a necessary one if you're doing solo content is Solo Operative. While you're the only member of your fire team, you deal a flat increased damage to all combatants. The optional one is going to be Argent Ordnance. Firing a rocket launcher will consume one of your stacks of armor charge, granting increased damage and reload speed until you reload or stow your rocket launcher. And Rays of Precision. While Radiant, Solar Precision final blows will cause combatants to ignite. These are both extremely useful. If you're running something like an Onslaught team or raid, you can take off Solo Operative and put on Rays of Precision. And then when you're hopping into solo play, I am going to recommend Solar Operative and Argent Ordnance to churn out that boss damage and deal with those high health targets way more easily. Speaking of which, for the weapons, I have a couple of options here for you. In your primary slot, your kinetic slot, I am going to recommend the Mountaintop. My reason for this is that there are two roles that I believe are extremely useful right now. One of those being auto-loading and Harmony, and the other one being auto-loading, ideally, I only have Overflow, and Recombination. Elemental final blows increase the damage of this weapon's next shot. You're going to want implosion rounds on the god rolls of these weapons, but if you don't have it, that's okay. But Recombination is extremely good in my opinion for dealing with solo content. This is because you're going to spend a lot of time getting kills with your other elemental weapons. And that means that when you do pull out something like this Mountaintop on a champion, on a boss, you do a ton of damage all at once, and in some cases can immediately kill high health targets. For the energy weapon, I'm going to recommend the Heliocentric QSC. This is going to be a heal clip, kill clip roll. This is so that when you get a kill, you reload, you will heal and deal increased damage for your next kill. If you do not have this, or you want to use something like a hand cannon, I recommend Epical Integration. It has Incandescence, or Luna's Howl with Incandescence or Heal Clip. Ideally, I believe you can run Heal Clip and Incandescence. That could be a very good role for you. And then on your heavy, I'm going to recommend Gallarhorn, despite the fact that it's a little, not really outdated, but more so it's been out for a while. Some people might be bored of it. It's still extremely powerful. And for a more recent option that can do better on certain bosses, Dragon's Breath. This deals a ton of damage over time. You don't need to be super upkept on it, and works really well in solo content. Now, if you wanted to use Sunshot or another exotic or something like that, you could also run Apex Predator, for which I recommend a crafted roll with bait and switch and reconstruction, and then I would recommend using that for this kind of stuff. I only have a 3 out of 5. This is my 4 out of 5. There are guides that I've made in terms of trying to get free raid loot from Last Wish, even if you don't have any ability to do that. And if you don't have any of that loot, then you can also try using the ribbon wishes. Either way, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and thanks for watching.